everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tête-à-Tête with Inaya. On the show today, I have with me a best-selling author, columnist, and journal, Mrs. Vani Kaushal. She's an energy healer, intuitive and certified hypnosis and past life regression therapist with a thriving practice that attracts clients from all over the world. Born in Libya to Indian parents, she is an alumna of Kingston University in London and Punjab University in India. She has been widely interviewed by the Indian media, both print and television, such as by Doordarshan, Indian Express, and the Sunday Guardian, among others. Vani's non-fiction work, titled Flowers Forever, was published in the United States by Worldwide Art Books. She is the author of the bestseller romantic thriller Seconds Later. In her latest romance novel, Mr. Joshi's Bride, Vani infuses romance with elements of adventure. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Tête-à-Tête with Inaya.
Thank you so much, Inaya. I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, definitely. So, ma'am, as I mentioned, you're an energy healer and you're a past life regression therapist. I'm sure many viewers here would know something about past lives, but they wouldn't exactly know what a regression therapist is. So, please tell us something about it.
So, I think it's very easy for us to believe, at least in our culture, that our soul never dies, and so we just change bodies, and our soul is eternal. So it goes on and takes many lives and makes many experiences. So there are some traditions and cultures which like they don't believe in past lives while we do, so it's kind of easier for us to understand, and it's interesting to explore what kind of lives your soul has led and any issues that might be coming into your life from your previous births. So that's what I do. I take people into their past lives and to dig out issues or problems or anything that might have happened in the past life, and as a consequence has kind of become an issue in this life as well. And I do future life progression as well, which is taking them into the highest probable future for them, because the future is nothing but it has infinite possibilities, as we say. So I do that as well, where I take my clients into their highest possibility that is opening out for them if they continue to follow on their current path. So that's what I do. I'm a certified past life regression therapist, and as far as energy healing is concerned, I do Reiki healing, and I'm trained in many modalities of Reiki. And I have, like you mentioned, I have clients all over the world, and I work with many nationalities, and it's just so amazing to see the transformation in people from like they come to me with various kind of illnesses and all that. And then Reiki is very strong in itself. Like it has a very high vibrational frequency, and I just love to see clients transforming their illnesses into wellness, and feeling emotionally and physically well after their treatment is over. So that's what I do. And of course, I'm also a novelist, and I write columns whenever I get an opportunity. Have I not done that actively for the past couple of months, but yeah, that's also what I have to do. Yeah.
That sounds great. So, of course, as you mentioned right now, this regression therapy and energy healing, it's a very intimate process. It requires a deep connection with your client, right? So, how do you do that? How do you connect with them? How do you get to know them better? And how do you see into their future or their past?
See, seeing into their future so we're talking about two things. So I'll tell you for both of these things. As an
Okay.
energy healer, there is a technique in Reiki using which you can connect with anyone distantly. So anybody who's an energy healer is able to do that. You could be sitting here, and you can connect with anybody who's sitting in any part of the world. Okay, so it's basically energy. So it's not, it does not follow the physical limitations of time. There is no time and space kind of limitation for it. So there are techniques using which we can connect with anybody distantly. In fact, we can also heal events, situations, and circumstances from any regardless of the time and space where they occurred. So you could actually heal something that goes generations back, or you could send
Okay.
healing to something that's going to happen way out into the future, something that you have no idea of. So energy can travel both ways, past, present, and future. Okay, so that's number
So
one. So
basically
there
help
are
them deal with the trauma from their past life or something like that?
not just past life. Past life traumas are just a part of it. You build so many things even in present life, because karma is getting built all the time. You're
Right.
creating karma all the time. So sometimes, you're creating karma in the present moment, which might have its own repercussions as you go ahead in the future. So you're creating bad thoughts for people, you're sending negative vibes to people, you're cursing them, you're doing 100 things in your life which may not be in alignment with the spirit, with what the divine might want you to do. Unconditional love, let's not bring the divine, let's just call it unconditional, with the energy of unconditional love. So then you're constantly creating karma, and because of that, there are many blockages that are created in your energetic field. And you might feel them as, kind of stuckness. Like you might see that, people suddenly feel very stuck in their lives. Their career is not moving
Right.
anywhere, their relationships are stuck, and 100 other things are happening. They're not living their
Yeah.
life because they're getting very angry, and all sorts of emotional imbalances are occurring, and then that manifests into illnesses. So yeah, that is what is in the realm of energy healing. And
Right.
like I said, there are techniques using which I connect with my clients, and they're located in all parts of the world, from Australia to United States, United Kingdom, all over Europe and all that. And then secondly, as far as past life is regression is concerned, so I do it distantly. I haven't. I have a few people only coming into my personal practice and getting it done with me in person. And
Okay.
yeah, it's just about building a rapport with the person. Like, if I am going to take a person into past life, I need to understand what is their background, a bit about their background, what issue, current life issue they are dealing with, what are they trying to explore, and what is their reason to do this kind of therapy. It's very therapeutic on many levels, because you understand a lot of things about your life. It's very exciting, it's very interesting, very intriguing. And people come out with, like, so many times I've seen in my sessions, people are crying. Like, I can see tears rolling out of their eyes, and they're in their past
Oh.
life. Like, in the in-person sessions, of course, I can see them. But even in distant sessions, when I engage with my clients, like, distantly, then there's an induction process. So induction
Yeah.
process is kind of not very exciting. As a therapist, I kind of drone on and on and on and on, putting their conscious mind to sleep, and helping them to, the unconscious mind to come up, because that stores all your memories from, so that has
Yeah.
to come up. So it's like a longish process. But after that, once they are in their past life, it's just so rewarding. And I generally like to take them into multiple past lives. Like, it's 1, 2, 3. And there was one client in London. She was interested to see if she had lives even outside of this planet. So I took her into
Wow.
two lives where she was on other planets. So that was also
Oh.
very interesting. There are many people who are doing that, and but it was very exciting for me to do that. And yeah, future life progression also is very exciting. So it's all done distantly, and also in person. Yeah. So I answered your question about that. How do I connect with clients?
Yeah, of course. So basically, they get into their past lives and they're able to remember or experience what they were like in their past
They
lives.
experience, yes, they are able to feel it. Your subconscious mind, it it is very intuitive. It's your feeling mind. It knows everything, stores all the memories, knows all, your super conscious mind, your higher self, your guide. So I engage with the white light that is around you, that surrounds you, the higher self that you have, and that is that the all-knowing self that we say. And I connect with that, and then there are processes, there are techniques to do that, and then you just engage with that, and you try, and because we've had multiple lives, and we live with everything is there is everything is happening at the same time. There is also, so it's like I have to be very specific as to what issue you are dealing with. Why are you getting into this? Why do you want to do this? And and then accordingly, my instructions would be to lead you to that very particular lifetime where we find an answer to your current life issue. Otherwise, I'm not really interested to take you through your 64,000 lives or whatever number of lives you have.
Yeah.
That won't be meaningful for me and for the client as well.
So all our lives are connected basically. Like some problems you're having in our current life could be connected to something in our past lives. And basically you help to deal with those issues that we have.
Yes, yes. I think for most people, mostly what I see is that there is one or two issues that people generally have that are like they are projecting, these issues are getting projected in all the aspects of their lives. Like for example, I might meet a 40-year-old person, and that person might say, okay, the two things that I think are having an impact on my personal and professional life is blah 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 blah. And then I'm not ready to really explore a lot of things. It is not possible. I'll take one or two core issues, pick them up, and then we go back and explore which lifetime. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
Oh yeah, definitely. So from what I've managed to gather from what you've been saying, this process requires a very deep connection of, or maybe an understanding of the spirit world, understanding these connections and how these things work. Maybe having that sort of innocence, having that different a sense that's different from what a normal person has, right? So is this something that any person can have if they like look deep enough, if they're connected to their inner self, or is it something that special you have, like you've specially been born with? Yeah.
Okay, I got the draft of your imagination where it is going, and I
Yeah,
know.
I'm very curious about this. I'm also a little like, I don't know, I'm marveled. I mean, I don't know, I'm surprised by what you're saying. I'm very amazed by everything. I've always been interested in horror. Yeah.
Okay, so the thing is that this is nothing to do with horror. That's number one. And secondly,
Yeah.
you are born with gifts. Everybody has certain amount of gifts and talents and abilities and skills that you're born with, and then you kind of work on them and kind of polish them. Because if you have some gift, like for example, I'm an empath. Now, as an empath, I was actually cursing myself my entire life because I was like a sponge. I was absorbing everybody's emotions. Like wherever I would go, I could sense the energy around me, and I never could I never knew I was an empath, or you can understand it as a highly sensitive person. Like,
Okay.
a person who walks into a room and can sense, okay, this person is going through this person is going through this, and then kind of taking their
Right, right.
feelings onto yourself. And I grew up with no boundaries at all, because so that's what. So what I mean to say is that even being an empath is a gift. Any gift that you're born with. Some people are born with a talent to speak, but
Yeah.
anything that's been given to you is there for a reason. It is what is going to guide you towards your life's purpose. And so,
Yeah.
you have to train yourself to use your gifts. Now, it wasn't until
Mm.
I became a healer that I could actually use the gifts that I had been given. So I
Okay.
would say that nobody's extraordinary. I mean, I really, I don't believe in that word. I think everybody has that skill, that talent to connect with energy. You know, at the very basic level, this is all energy
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about. And I think children are more perceptive because, you know, they don't have those blinkers on, and they don't have the conditioning from the society as adults have. You
Right.
know, as adults, we are like, oh, nahi, you know, I have a logical mind, and this is what I believe in, and this is what I don't believe in. So, you know, you as
Yeah.
a child, every child is able to sense energy very well. And that's why you won't, as a child, you won't go to certain places which are dense in energy, or you won't go to certain people who kind of, you know, project a dense energy or have a dense aura. And that's where you see that children kind of are repulsed by such people. However, as we grow up, you know, and especially when you start going to school, and you know, you were told to interact with everybody, to have those social skills, nahi, you know, you should say namaste, and you should wish everybody and all that.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
think we are kind of putting all our instinctual this thing, you know, to the background. And we are kind of like, okay, you know, we need to be in the society, so we need to interact with everybody. But I think that's where, you know, we kind of push down our spiritual development. And I think later on, somewhere in life, you
Yes.
know, when you start working on your gifts and abilities and powers and talents and skills, I think many people are able to kind of tune into the higher realms and higher energies and all that. So this is all a part of energy. We are all energy. Everything around you is energy.
Energy.
What you perceive as bad is also energy. Good
Okay. So
is
I've
also.
read in many, yeah, I've read in many places that children are sort of connected with their past lives, because sometimes when a child is sleeping, they could be smiling because they're thinking of their past lives, or crying because again something traumatic happened. Is that true? Is that
I
possible?
really don't. I have read those kind of things too, and I've heard those kind. And in fact, you know, seeing children in front of me, I've always felt that, you know, that they we all dream. We do travel to astral realms. And I think children also are human beings after all. They must be dreaming about something, and they must be seeing
Yeah.
something. So whether you believe in, you know, that they see something from their past lives, or, you know, people who believe in angels and archangels think like, you know, they have archangels around them, and they kind of feel ticklish, you know, because the archangels and angels are kind of, you know, making them tickle. So believe what you want to, but yeah, could be. But I do have a sense that children are perceptive to energies. I know that for sure.
Of course, yeah. So, ma'am, you said you're an empath. You've been an empath from the beginning. So, while growing up, has this affected you in certain ways? Like, has it ever been different for you that you could see and perceive things that ordinary people can't?
Interestingly, I never knew I was an empath. I never even knew there was
Oh,
some such thing like an empath. I came to terms with this only maybe just 2 years ago or something. Before that, I just could not understand why I was perceiving energies so much more than other people. Why was it that, you
okay.
know, I could feel people's emotions? Like, you know, I would talk to a friend, the friend would dump the entire thing on me, and then I would come back home, and I could feel it in my body what she was feeling. I could feel the pain, the suffering. And what would happen, you know, what would happen with me was that I would keep thinking about it for days, just answering those arguments in my mind. And I just didn't know what, you know, sometimes you just want to, it's sometimes you just want to put words to what you're going through. Sometimes, of course, it's not necessary. Sometimes people might be like, oh, you're overthinking. No, sometimes it helps to just have yourself boxed into a category, just because you want to understand that, you know, yes, I am not going through, like, I'm not, there's nothing wrong with me. There are
Yeah.
hundreds of people who might be like that, and there might be help that might be available. If there's help, if hundreds of people are going through that, or, you know, have a similar thing, then there might be something that we can do about it as well. So all I needed to do was to just strengthen my boundaries, just as an empath, you need to have rock solid boundaries, which I never had.
Yeah.
And ever since I became an energy healer and I trained myself to kind of have those boundaries, I've never had an issue with that. I have,
Okay.
I have like a moat here now with crocodiles and all that. Nobody can come in. Yes.
So, you mentioned that, like, only a few years ago you came to terms with the fact that you're an empath. It's all about energy, right? As you mentioned. So, how are you able to unlock this potential? If someone is, let's say, an empath, or if someone has the potential to have that spiritual connection with someone, how should they unlock their potential? How should they realize this power, or I guess gift that you can have?
Okay, so I think we are all gifted. That's number one. We are all gifted. It's all about you not shoving it all under the carpet just because you want to put your logical mind first and you want to make 2 plus 2 4 and 4 plus 4 8, that kind of a thing. And recognizing that your body is the biggest sensing thing, it's like a barometer. It's like something that tells you about your environment, about the kind of people that you have in your environment, and to
Right.
not kind of push these feelings away from you, just kind of feeling, sensing, going through these and following your senses to give you a direction in your life. And that's what 90% of the people that I meet, they are just going about their lives with such a lot of unawareness. The moment you
Hmm.
start noticing these little signs that your body is giving you, that the these signs could be positive or negative. I'll give you an example so you get a clear idea. Or
Okay.
anything that may not be visual, that may not have an auditory element to it, but you can only sense it with your sense. Like you have a sense, you just know, like that it is there, but you don't have anything visual connected to it or anything auditory connected to it, but you just know it is there. Like just sensing and feeling, and just allowing yourself to follow what your body, your barometer is telling you. That's the first thing. Next is, if you want to train yourself further, your psychic gifts and abilities further, there are many things that you can do. You can train yourself to become an energy healer. Reiki is a technique. Like there are many modalities of Reiki, and you can practice those and open your psychic senses. Your psychic, your chakras will open, blockages will clear, and your psychic abilities will, they will heighten. And then again, there are practices like meditation and all, which you can also engage in, sound therapy, and there's a lot that's there that you can do to train yourself, to train your powers and your skills. But first thing I think which anybody can do is just becoming aware that you have that ability, and to continue, you have to work on it. It's not something like a switch. I just switch it, I just plug something in, switch it on, and it just and I know like 90% of the people are like, okay, can you do this for me? And they want to watch YouTube videos. Oh, awaken your psychic gifts in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Nothing like that. That's all sham. That's
Yeah.
not, that does not happen. And even if that happens, there's a dialogue in one of the this Spider-Man movies. If you have
Okay.
been given powers, you should know how to use them, because power, with power comes the responsibility. I think that's
Great
something.
responsibility. Like,
Yes,
with
great
great power comes great
great
responsibility. Yeah.
responsibility. So what happens is, if you give power in the hands of a person who does not know how to wield them, then they are going to be misused. And you don't want to do that. If you have powers and gifts and talents and abilities and skills, you've, at least I am trained the way I look at it. I always use them for the greater good, and that's what
Right.
I will continue using them for the greater good, not to harm someone or to create more divisiveness in the society and, to break humanity into pieces. No, you don't do that. You work for
Okay.
the collective good. Yeah. That's when your powers are enhanced. If you use them for making profit out for yourself, like as in cheating people, like, I think there are a lot of people who also do that, misuse their powers.
Mm-hmm.
Then these powers might be taken away from you, or they might be reduced, and all sorts of things happen. Yeah.
Right.
So
So
with
what I could
power,
gauge from,
responsibility. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So I could gauge from that, Vani, is that you believe in a greater power. You believe there is something beyond, of course, current form of existence, our current plane of existence. So do you believe in the concept of an afterlife, the concept of spirits?
I believe yes. I believe yes. Because come to think of it, there's only as much as your physical eyes can see. So of
Yeah,
course, if I tried explaining this to a person on the street, they would be like, okay, so I don't believe in something that my eyes cannot see. But come to think of it, your eyes can only see what's in front of you, and there's a lot. The
yeah,
whole world is happening behind you, around you, and everywhere. So I do believe that we're not able to see 99.9999% of the life. It's just what we have in front of our eyes. So do you want to trust everything that happens in front of you? No, there's a lot that you don't understand that's within. And of course, our visual abilities are restricted to the that spectrum which we can see. There is a
yeah.
lot more that you cannot see. So what about that? How do you explain that? So of course
Okay,
there are a lot of realms of existence that are not visible to us. They are all separated by very thin veils,
right.
and you can access those realms. You can peek through those realms, have, like, but you have to be trained for it. And if you're
Okay,
trained for
yeah.
it, you can do that. Yes. And I do
So
believe in
in
afterlife. Well, I believe that our soul is like, it's in a kind of I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. So it's like a cycle. You go through some experiences, then you leave this physical body, have another set of experiences, leave that physical body, and it's all happening at the same time. It's not like for us it
yeah.
is previous life and future life and all. What It's all happening at the same time.
Okay, so it's like sort of a multiverse. So we are
No, it's
currently
it's
experiencing
almost like
something.
the construct of time. Yeah, I think it's very man-made. This past, present, future. If somebody were to see us from the space, they would probably see dinosaurs on planet Earth. I think
Yeah, it
we can.
depends on like the distance because light travels at different speeds.
Yeah.
So
So I know it's
yeah.
very complicated even for me to understand, but I believe that it's all happening at the same time. You're living all those possibilities all at the same time. It's all there.
Okay. All right. In my book, The Other Side, I do explore the concept of parallel dimensions, multiple dimensions, where there are different kinds of spirits, and the protagonist Maya, she also meets spirits who are both good and bad. So, do you believe in good or evil spirits and such dimensions? Like dimensions can be evil or they can be good, sort of along those lines.
Okay, I'll tell you. So this is like, if I go a bit long on this, you are free to interrupt me. In my
Okay.
experience, so what you're talking about is good and bad and evil and good and whatever. This is all like just creating two. They're like a duality. We live in a universe where either something is good, and for something to be good, something has to be bad. It's all energy for me, after all. It's all the manifestation of that one source, one God, and out of that everything has come out. And of course, not everything is vibrating on a very high unconditional love. And so there are those fears and blockages and everything that does create a dark side, and that dark side, so there is like, there are levels of this dark side as well, levels which are way below, which are all about meanness and cheating and deception, and all the malice of life, on those realms.
Yeah.
And there are higher realms which we associate with the lighter beings and heaven, and where everything is unconditional love and peace and all that. So I believe that, there are just realms, and you could either be tuning into the higher realms, which are all about light and love and healing and blessing and all that. And or you could be tuning into the lower realms, which are denser. And then there are the lowest of the lowest realms, which are even denser. So it's all a manifestation of the one source, but it's just like different levels of existence, so
Okay,
depends
by
on where you
denser you
are.
mean?
Denser as in, denser with dense energy. Like we're all a manifestation of that source, that one source of light.
Yeah.
And then as fear, insecurities, and all other malices of life and everything else, that kind of settles down and kind of blocks the light, you become
Hmm.
denser and denser and blacker and blacker and blacker
Okay.
and more denser. And the lower realms are more dense, heavy energy. You can feel the malice there,
Hmm.
and the spirits that inhabit that would be very dense, while the lighter
Okay.
beings are those archangels and angels. They are all up there in the higher realms. So I, as an energy healer, work with the higher realms. I work with my teachers, my guides, my the masters who guide me when I do my energy healing or other work. They are at very high realms of existence. And I don't tune into the lower realms, but I completely get it that, you got the idea that, that this girl, Maya, she's 12-year-old, and it's a wonderful book, by the way. The Other Side, guys, do check it out. And so she is in touch with the entities in the higher realms and those in the lower realms as well, and how she kind of,
Yeah.
there's something that happens,
Yeah.
interface.
Yeah, I've always been sort of interested in the paranormal. Of course, you said it's not exactly horror, and I understand that. It's energy healing and past life regression therapy is not exactly horror, but that's how I was introduced to the concept of maybe a higher power or something beyond our current plane of existence. So, ma'am, talking about this sort of dwelling on this part of the conversation, do you believe in, like, have you ever felt scared by the paranormal or horror or something,
So scared.
knowing that there's, yeah,
Yes. So I wasn't always a psychic medium, I wasn't always, using my gifts. So when I wasn't, I was super scared. And I was also, yeah, I grew up watching all those horror movies and all. And, the kind of way they project all this paranormal and, ghosts and all that. So yes, I was very much scared of, places which were very dark, or I didn't like to be alone in like dark places, that. Uh,
because
and
being an
I
energy healer, I feel fear is, from what I could understand, it's also part of that denser, that more, the terrible energy that you were mentioning. I think fear is a manifestation of that. And if
yes.
you're associating it in that sense,
No, with when it's about energy healing, I'm actually clearing out all the dense energy in my like clients or in spaces, and I'm filling up.
yeah.
I'm doing the work of filling people up with positive energy. So I'm like a Hoover, or what you say, a vacuum cleaner, cleaning out the blockages. And just, I'm just a channel, as in I release I'm not the healer. It's the divine energy that's the healer. It just goes through me, goes through my hands and into my client's energetic field, and then heals all the blockages. So yeah, that's what I do. But I have had to work a lot on my own fears first. So now if you ask
Okay.
me, I'm not scared of ghosts and paranormal or anything of that sort, because they are they they need help as well, but that does not mean I would, yeah, they need help to pass on towards light, towards light. Okay, they've lost
Yeah.
their way. Some can't find a way into the other side. Okay, so we're going into another aspect of this thing. But yes, I do not. Even if I don't fear paranormal or I don't fear ghosts and all, I don't engage with them. I do not call upon them. I do not engage with them. I do not engage in any kind of practices like Ouija boards or anything of that sort.
So you
No, I
believe
don't.
there's some truth to these kind of things? Like you believe
But
Ouija
that's
boards could
what
be
I,
like?
when I was a kid. I've done all that. Calling
Oh,
spirits, any holy spirit, I don't want to call them now. But yeah, we've all kids, because I was just like a normal 14-year-old, 15-year-old. I was also like very curious to know what it's all about. And,
and
people talking
possessions?
about
You
ghosts.
believe
Sorry?
possessions and things like that?
I don't know possessions happen or not because I have never kind of had a client who had any such kind of thing. But also, I have to give you an example of bad energy. And but
Right.
I believe, yeah, these things happen because sometimes, and I'll tell you why these things happen. Sometimes when you are very very vulnerable, okay, you might attract negative energies to yourself. So I'll give you an example. There's a lady, I know her very well, and she lost her mother-in-law. The mother-in-law disappeared. She hasn't been
Okay.
found. She just
Oh,
disappeared. One day, nobody knew where the woman went, and the lady was suffering from Alzheimer's. So obviously,
okay.
she's no memory. So I tuned into my guides, and my guides told me that the woman is no more. Fair enough. But the lady kept seeing the spirit of the person, the mother-in-law, quite often. And in their house, they could hear the woman coughing and all those kind of things, spooky things.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
tuned into my guides again, and I asked them, like, they're able to see that. What is that? And they said, do not engage with it because that's not who they think it is. So do not try to talk to that spirit. Do not try to respond to that spirit. And rather than that, burn incense sticks and all that, and just let go. Just let go of the need to control it or whatever. It will leave. And so what happens is, it's like you don't need to engage with, you might have encounters. People have encounters with these kind of things, and I've heard stories about, but I don't know of anyone who's been possessed or anything of that sort. And I'm not an exorcist or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not trained to work with the lower astral realms, and I have
Hmm.
strictly been told to just work with the higher guides, and so I work on the healing level, not on the possessions and because that's dealing with, see, it's all energy, but it's all dealing with, you're dealing with different energies. So it's all like, you could be a heart surgeon, and you could know nothing about what goes on in the brain and how to do a brain surgery. It's different areas, so it's all energy. But I deal with the higher realms and not with the lower realms. But I know a bit and all about this. Regarding sensing of energy, we were talking about empaths, and I wanted to give you an example
Yeah.
there. So recently, a client of mine, she has a very very porous energetic field. So she went to a hospital, and she
Hmm.
came back, and the next morning, because I don't talk to my clients, I tell them what I sensed in their energetic field and what was going on, like the thoughts, the energy, the pains, the aches. I tell them everything, and then they tell me, oh Vani, this is what was going on. So
Hmm.
and this is my every morning routine. I work one on one with all my clients, and I tell them what's going on, and I send them the healing and everything. So I asked my client, you were paining all over. What was going on? You had like a headache, and I sensed dizziness and this and that. And she told me that she went to a hospital, and this particular client has a very porous energetic field. And she can
Okay.
actually, we've had some issues, I've told her to protect herself, and the client just goes out to a hospital without kind of protecting her energy field, and she actually carries massive amount of energy vomits the entire day, has fever the entire day. So when I was telling you
Oh,
that your body is the first thing that's going to tell you, sensing of energy, about, how you should sense energy, listen to your body first. If you feel like you should not be at a particular place, your body is telling you something, just remove yourself from that place. Like, so many times I
got
can't
it.
connect with these discos and pubs, and I just can't connect with the lighting and the noise and all that goes on there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I
get
just
that.
don't go to
Yeah.
these places. Yeah. They're heavy with energy.
Okay, Vani, in my novel, The Other Side, as we talked about it before, the protagonists do engage in these games. In some spiritual games, they play the elevator game, they play the midnight game. So, what are the dangers about these games? Are the children in any real danger if they do play these games? Do they might like be connected to an evil spirit? Can the spirit latch on to them? So, what are the dangers associated with this?
I know these games are very popular, and especially with teenagers. And if there's one thing that I could, like I could tell the viewers through your channel, is that it's not a
Right.
good idea to engage with all these practices, and that's because of course, you an entity might attach to you, and you may not even realize it.
Yeah.
And what happens is, because the higher the level of vulnerability you have. For example, there's a kid who has trouble going on at home, and the parents are not supportive, and the child is bullied, etc., etc. So your level of vulnerability, you understand, you're so much more vulnerable to darker forces. And you start playing the game, and you call in an entity, and it projects as if it's very nice. Of course, they're very good at deception and all that. It's all
Yeah.
energy. So even deception is a kind of an energy. It's a
Hmm.
denser energy. So that might attach itself to you and might do you so much more harm. So I would say, these kind of practices, and I see a lot of such videos on YouTube as well. Do
Yeah.
this, and this is how you should do it, and engage with, how to call this, how to do this, and do this in five
I'm
steps.
guilty
And
of watching all of these games. Like there's a YouTube channel called Salmon Colby or Sam Golbach. I think he does a lot of these 3 a.m. challenges and they're very popular on his channel. I really enjoy watching them. Nothing
yeah.
has ever really happened in those videos, but Sam does talk a lot about being connected to a spirit or spirits being in his house. And yeah, I've always felt there was some truth to it.
The thing is that you should not, even as a trained person, like I'm trained, I protect myself even when I do my energy healing work. You never go out without training and without protection, and without,
Yeah.
you're not trained to protect yourself with light. You're just going out there. It's almost like sending a person to a war without his or her armor. What is going to happen? The person is going to
Yeah.
get killed. So what happens
Exactly.
is that you become a magnet for darker energies. And I can give you an example of a kid I knew. Like, that person is not a kid anymore, he's an adult, he's like 30 years, 30-year-old man. And what happened was, this guy was so ever so curious to explore places which were known for, their spookiness. You have
Yeah.
a castle there, and you go there, and some screams you hear at night, and then he would actually go hunting for such places. And he did manage to get something latched onto him. Took him about a year or something. God knows what he did about it. But the family was in a lot of distress because of that. His anger just shut up, and he started behaving. The business started going down. So some of the things that these entities, they're not capable of doing this, but you do this because you're constantly being attacked by these dark energies, and you don't know what's happening to you. There might be spells of, where you feel angry, where you feel agitated for no reason at all. It's not even a core element that you have. You're a very calm person, and suddenly your business starts going down, your relationship just falls apart, and everything is kind of starts falling apart in your life. And you realize that something is going on in your life. Like inside of you, you know that that's not you, that's not supposed to happen to you, but you don't know what to do about it. So I would say that, best is to not go exploring such places, such events, such rave parties and all that.
So
Like,
I
if
think
you're
there's a fine line between stupidity and this revelry and it becoming something serious.
See, the thing is that you are always thinking in your mind, you are always like, no, I know I'm in control. I know that,
Yeah,
it'll not happen to me. And the day it happens to you, and after that, you don't know what's going on and where to go for help, because the moment you start looking for help, there's like a whole host of like industry out there that is sitting to mint money from you. You understand what I mean?
yeah.
So I would say that from the very start, to not engage in such things. Why do you want to explore this energy? Why do you want to be a host for darkness, where you could do so much more by connecting with light, and by adopting practices which move you closer to light, and from that place helping others to move out into that space as well. That's what I do. I'm a light worker, and I work with angels, archangels, and masters who are at a very, very high level of energy, vibrational energy. And I
Yeah,
work with them to clear out any kind of spatial imbalances or energetic imbalances in my clients or the spaces where they live in, or
yeah.
I take them back into their past life, or I use light to dispel darkness. So that's a
So that's your
better.
protection then.
I have, yeah, I. So you take training for that. There are techniques using which you can, like I said, my protection is like I live in a castle. Nobody can enter my energetic
Yeah,
field. So the thing about most people is that, until you allow bad elements, bad entities to attach to you, they will not attach to you. You do have free will. But the moment you say yes, they will attach themselves to you. So for example, they will use deception. They will use deception, like they will look like a friend who passed away 2 years ago, and if the entity would say, oh, I will connect with you, I've been missing you, this and that. It will use deception and manipulation
yeah.
to first of all introduce itself to you, and then to kind of uh, get into whatever damage it wants to do. So just don't engage. My point is to not engage with such energies at all. Or
Of course, prevention is the
if you want to, then be make sure that you're trained adequately.
yeah, yeah. Of course, prevention is the best cure. But let's say a vulnerable person is attached, like is the spirit does attach itself to a vulnerable person. So how do they then get rid of it? How do they protect themselves
And
against it
that's
further?
and that's where my role as a healer comes in. I'm trained to
Right.
remove all that dark energy.
Right, ma'am. So from okay, this was a very insightful conversation. So how did you evolve into writing from that? Was it something that was there in you from the beginning? Is it something that you evolved into later? Like,
Well,
yeah.
writing came to me first, Inaya, because I started my career as a journalist, just like your
Okay.
dad. And I started writing for Times of India. And I worked as a business journalist for a couple of years. And somehow, I could see that I was stagnating in my career. And that's when I thought about, pursuing an MBA degree, went to London, finished my MBA, and global recession. There was global recession taking over in like the whole, there was global recession at that time, 2008. And
Yeah.
I had an idea to write a book about it. It was a wedding novel, and it's gonna come out very soon. It's gonna come out very soon. My other books came out before that one, but this one took a long time
Okay.
and all. So that's how I got into writing, just to get over the boredom of just doing the same thing again and again, day in and day out. And I trained myself very hard to become a writer. And now with my energy healing, it's I'm very, very committed to what I do, and I just love my work so much. I have no time for writing. So I just kind of manage it here and there and, just try the best I can. And
I
my
relate to
latest book
that
is
because,
out soon.
yeah, I heard about that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I sort of relate to your aspect of not being able to write that often because I'm also really busy with schoolwork. And I want to write, I really want to get back into writing and reading, but it's difficult. But I feel when you love something as much as I feel you also love writing a lot, when you love something that much, you're bound to find time for it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But you can't force writing. Writing is like, it's a creative energy. You can't force it out of yourself. You
Of
When you feel
course,
like
yeah.
it, you tune into it and you just write.
Vani, your latest book, Mr. Joshi's Bride, will come out soon. So, and I've heard it infuses elements of adventure with romance. So, tell us a bit more about it.
It's a wedding novel, and so
Okay.
it's the story of a guy who's looking for a bride, and the adventures the adventures, the roller coaster ride, that this whole thing, the what is this, the matchmaking business is, uh, in India. So
Yeah,
it's romantic comedy, it's adventure, it's thrill, it's a lot of this Indian matchmaking industry. You've seen this Netflix series. I'm forgetting the it's called Indian matchmaking, I guess. Matchmaking or
okay.
something. I'm forgetting the name, but it's very interesting. So yeah, yeah, it's humor, and I'm very excited about it because it took me a lot of time to write this novel, and I'm genuinely hoping that the readers like this.
I'm really excited as well. So, this is a very light-hearted, a novel of feel-good story, I'm presuming.
Yes, yes, feel good, yes.
And and your previous novel, Seconds Later, is a thriller. It's about a murder. It's a romantic thriller. So, what's
Yes,
that about?
that's about a young woman who is constantly, she's growing up craving fame, not knowing that what fame can do to you. It's a double-edged sword. So if it can take you up, it also has a toxic side to it, that you need
Right.
to manage as well. So without realizing that, she's just chasing fame, and she's almost stabbed and lying in a pool of blood, and she doesn't even know why the other person, tried to kill her, and she's just a couple
Yeah.
of moments to figure out what was going on here. And that's what, so I wrote the story backwards, and that novel has been a huge success for me, so thank God for that. Yeah.
Right. Yours, that sounds interesting. Go check it out. It's on Amazon, right?
Yes, correct.
Because I'm sure people will be interested to read the novel.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, now let's move on to the game. This is a
Yes.
very different sort of game. So I'm going to say a word, and then you have to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention that word.
One.
It can be an elaborative answer, or it can be something short, depends on whatever you think.
Yes.
Okay, should I begin?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word spirit,
Energy.
right? Energy, romance.
Parashraman Joshi, the protagonist of my new book.
Oh, wow. Right. The afterlife,
Mm, time. It's all about
time.
time. It's all about afterlife, before life, future life. It's all like in our mental. It's easier for us to understand when we put like it as time. Like this is just this. It's all happening all at the same time. Eventually, there's no afterlife. There is no future life. It's all panning out at the same time. I'm a baby in some like parallel reality, and probably a dinosaur in some other.
That's a very interesting answer. I would never have thought of that. Okay, crime.
Seconds later.
I sort of thought you might say that.
Yes.
And lastly, money.
Money, abundance, financial abundance. Oh, I love it.
That was a nice answer. Okay, and that was the end of the game, ma'am. Hope you enjoyed it.
I loved it. Thank you so much.
That was also the end of the interview. So thank you so much,
Okay.
Vani, for joining me on this episode of Tête-à-Tête with Inaya. I loved having you here. Like your answers were very eye-opening for me. I've always been interested in horror. Of course, horror is this is not exactly horror, but it's connected with the parallel dimensions, spirits, and I feel there's a sort of a spiritual connection I have with that because it's always interested me. I keep thinking about this stuff and your answers were very eye opening for me. They made me view things in a very different way. I'm sure it did that for the viewers as well.
Thank you so much, Inaya. This has been a lovely conversation, and I do hope that our viewers appreciate it, like how much work you've put into putting all this together. You're just such a young, beautiful person with a bright aura, and I just wanted to be on this show. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, viewers, for joining me on this episode of Tatatat with Inaya. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.